Welcome back, watch fans. Today we're going to be looking at one of the most iconic Rolexes that you could ever add into your personal inventory. Yes, we're going to be looking at the Rolex GMT-Master 2. Now, a lot of people, when you say GMT-Master 2, the first question that they ask me is, well, what happened to the GMT-Master 1? Well, the GMT-Master 1 is definitely a piece that was originally created by Rolex. They were commissioned by Pan Am to create a piece that would actually help with the pilots. At that time, you actually had a lot of pilots that were going through divorce and a few other situations simply because the pilots were not calling home in time. And now remember, this is early America, so we didn't have electricity in every home yet or the ability to call everyone every time. Sometimes family members or relatives or even people that just lived on your street. You may even share a phone if one person actually had one. So communication was one of those things that was key and it was vital. So when they commissioned them, Rolex answered the call and said, yes, let's do it. Right after that, or shortly after that, they actually created the steel and gold models. That's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the steel and gold models just to make sure that you've actually seen what's out there. I do have a lot of men who've told me over time, Ro, I prefer to have something all stainless steel, or I prefer to have something that's in solid gold. I don't really like the in-between. Well, me personally, I prefer to have the steel and gold. I actually feel like it works with everything. It never limits me on what I'm wearing, and it's one of those pieces that gives the perfect accent in your wardrobe to whatever the case may be. As a gentleman as well, I'm not always looking to pack 2 or 3 watches as I'm traveling. I'm looking for that one simple piece that I can be able to change in and out of, that is really gonna definitely stand with every piece that I'm wearing. So whether I choose to put on that tie and tie clip with cuff links, or if I just wanna do standard cuffs or maybe wanna roll my sleeves up for the evening and just enjoy, this gives me the opportunity to do that. With the actual GMT Master 2, you can actually do something that most people do not know, which is you can keep up to 3 different time zones. Yes, 3, not just 2, but it is a little bit more advanced. It does take for you to actually play with and get to know and to love your watch. I think that that's a big deal because for everyone, you should have a relationship with your watch. It should not just be that you're wearing the watch, and the watch should definitely not be wearing you, but you should have a bond that when you put that piece on, it gives you that feeling that you cannot separate. That's what true horology is. Not just the ability to tell time, but to master it. And on the GMT Master 2, it definitely gives us that ability. When I say the 3 different time zones, we have 3 places that we can actually change. So we're going to have our standard time, which is actually going to be the small hour hand, long minute hand that we grew up watching or being taught as a child, right? That's the first one. That's always your local time on this piece. Now, next inside, you'll notice for this particular watch, there's actually a green hand that's on there. That green hand is called the home time. That is the GMT hand. That means it goes around once per day. The purpose in it going around once per day is simply so that you can quickly indicate whether it is AM or PM. Huge deal for pilots because it meant now that pilot is not calling home at 3 a.m. thinking that maybe it is 8 in the morning and it's not. So he's trying to figure out where the family is. No one's answering, and that can, of course, create panic because we're, providers and protectors, right? That's our responsibility. We want to know what our family's doing, and we miss their voices when we're far away. So this gives us that ability, whether you're a pilot or someone who travels a lot for work, or maybe you just travel a lot for leisure. You actually have the ability to set the time for your family, which is the home time that was made to know where your family and spouse are. You actually have your local time, which are the hands we grew up watching for the smaller hour hand and minute hand. But now with the GMT Master 2, the bezel actually rotates as well. So as this bezel is rotating, it's giving us the ability to change and have a 3rd time zone. But because it is a little bit more advanced, it's a little bit more mapping. So you have to have that relationship with your watch where you know exactly where you like to place that bezel, and you can always put it back to 0 easily by actually just putting the triangle back to the top at 12 o'clock. When the triangle is there, it's going to read just the basic way for you for your home time itself. That is actually the functionality of the watch. Now, when it comes to controlling the day, you can actually control that by the independent hour hand on this watch as well. So it does give you the ability to change that without worrying about it actually breaking or the teeth catching, and then you having a huge service repair bill of about $1,000 because the date window and the GMT function are locked together. You do not run into that as a problem. So this becomes one of those really fun watches. Now that we've talked about what it does, let's talk about some of the style that you can actually choose for yourself. Let's start off with one of the first that you don't see all the time. This one, when we talk about the Rootbeer, which is what you hear a lot of people say, Rootbeer is definitely one of those nicknames that has come along, but this is one of those pieces that originally had a nickname. And the nickname for that piece was actually the A&W. So when you're thinking of Rootbeer, people automatically assume that that's that name in that collection. And these names are given from collectors. They're not given from Rolex. Rolex does not give names. But with the actual A&W, it gives you that opportunity to have the piece that you can see it is split. It looks more like that cream soda can, especially with that aluminum bezel. That was how it adopted that nickname. Now, if you notice, there's a lighter color and a darker color. The lighter color and darker color simply represent day and night. So when you look at them, you automatically know if it is going to be a nighttime hour. That's huge because your home time is telling you by pointing to the hour hand, whether it's saying 1600, 1800, 2100, or even if it's just saying 2. The bezel color definitely easily defines whether it's a warning for you because the lighter colors are always the morning colors. Typically, it's not going to be a time when you're looking to call home and someone may be awake. So when we move from that piece, we move to the more modern piece. This is going to be the Rootbeer, and you'll even hear people say diet Rootbeer because it's in steel and gold. Whereas the Rootbeer itself, they refer to a lot of times as the 18 karat Ever Rose. The diet Rootbeer would be the steel and gold. With this one, I love the fact that you have the blacked out hours. It kind of tells you, hey, these are more of the blacked out hours. We're moving into the PM hours where your family may be preparing for dinner, preparing for bed, and it's definitely very easy to read by having that color. I love it too, the fact that we move from the yellow gold on the piece itself in stainless steel, moving into the Ever Rose, which was actually created by Rolex with stainless steel. And this is a piece that will never turn back in color. That's really fun. So you get something that is a little bit more modern. When we look at the more classic piece in the steel and gold GMT yellow gold and stainless steel as well, this one has been nicknamed to be the Bumblebee. Now, it being nicknamed the Bumblebee for this style is really fun because it does. When I look at it, I do think of the Transformers. But if we remember, in all the movies, you've got two different versions of Bumblebee. You've got the Bumblebee that we love, the more modern one, where he's actually a Camaro. But before he was that Camaro, remember, he was that vintage classic piece, and that's what you have in this. Now, with these references, you actually have your 5-digit references that'll be on this side. We move into the 6-digit references over here. And now there's another 6-digit reference that's been added, which is a 1-2 model. That one has been nicknamed the Zombie. We would love to show you that one with this group today, but we cannot keep it in stock. As quickly as we get it, it is right out the door, but it is that fun piece that now has a Jubilee bracelet. To have a Jubilee bracelet or a Super Jubilee bracelet, which allows you to actually do quick adjustments, so you have winter-summer extension on there too. That piece is extremely fun, solid links, very modern. One of the pieces that I think I'm going to choose as my final piece to add in as I start to kind of minimize my collection and bring it down to those pieces that are going to be specific for me, that when you see them, they state, hey, that's Ro and that's his style. But we want to know what your style is, what you think, and maybe even some of the nicknames that you would call these pieces. Because remember, popularity is what makes the nicknames for these. It's not Rolex. So you may have a nickname that can stick, and we want you to do like they used to say, throw the spaghetti at the wall and see if it does. Let's see if it sticks for a nickname that you may create. Give them to us in the comments below here at Swiss Watch Expo.